Thank you so much for joining the People Track at What the Fuck is Cloud Native 2021. Next up, we have my friend Judy Rees, one of the people I know knows best about all the things of flexible work. And she is talking about how to get past the monoculture and monotony of ongoing meetings and how to find new ways to collaborate, whether you're working remotely, in person, or in some blend of hybrid or anything in between. Take it away, Judy. Thank you.
Thanks, Jen. Oh, yeah. Oh, I have to wave my Elmo. He's borrowed my goggles, my steampunk goggles. So I'm not wearing them. Forgive me. Okay, so in this chunk, what I thought we could be talking about, well, since the COVID lockdown and well before, I've been working with remote and hybrid teams to help them communicate more effectively. My stuff is not so much the tools, the technology, it's much more the people side of working well together in a remote environment. And particularly since all the lockdowns, I've been working with often quite senior teams, directors outside the IT space. And when I realized I was coming to talk to you, I thought this is going to be a different experience, because the fact you're here and you're part of What the Fuck is Cloud Native means that you almost certainly have a superpower that could save you and your colleagues from drowning in meetings and messages. I'm curious about how your inbox is at the moment. Is it full, or are you down to inbox 0? I'm guessing it's going to be full. Is your calendar nice and empty with lots of space for deep work? Or is it full with back-to-back meetings? I'm guessing it's on the back-to-back meeting side. So you're affected by this overcrowding that's happening at the moment, but you've got a really important part of the answer. The thing is, as Darren Murph of GitLab put it, async is a superpower for remote teams. Async meaning communication which is asynchronous at different times. By that we mean most often things like chat in Slack or in Teams, WhatsApp, those kind of situations. And my guess is that you guys have been quite good at that for a very long time. You probably know how to get decisions in that chat environment. So in this little chunk of time, what I hope we can touch on is how you can help other people to get good at this, and how we can work together to help you win back time to do stuff you enjoy and help them at the same time. Is that okay with you? If so, please put a yes, a Y or a yes in the question field in the Brella tool. I'd love to know that there are actually some people listening to this. It would really encourage me. So say something in the question field. That would be lovely. Thank you. So at this point in a talk, one usually provides some figures. You've probably seen the figures, but you've certainly experienced the figures. According to Microsoft, time in meetings has more than doubled during the pandemic period. The number of chats sent increased by 50%, and email is also booming. It's harder to say how much it's increased by because it's quite difficult to put a figure on how big it was to start with, but it's clearly booming. People are doing a lot more communicating in general, and yet they seem to be getting a whole lot less done. The trick, I believe, is to have real conversations asynchronously. But what I've noticed is that particularly outside the IT departments, a lot of people in businesses are stuck on send. Directors, senior managers regard the asynchronous tools and even their meetings as spaces where it's their chance to talk. They don't have to listen. They don't have to ask questions. They don't have to make those experiences interactive. Now, that's a really interesting experience for people because initially it makes them feel safe. A lot of people, when they're presenting in this kind of environment, feel safe because nobody can interrupt. Nobody can gainsay what they're saying. But actually, it reduces your effectiveness because, as we know, we need to work together in order to solve the kinds of problems we're working on these days. We need to collaborate in order to figure out how to create products and services that work for people, how to solve the individual problems that people have got in their lives and that our businesses are there to fix for them. We can't do that stuff by talking at each other. So the question becomes, how do you make asynchronous discussions more conversational? I want to touch on two specific ways. One is to use a richer digital body language, and the second is to ask more clarifying questions. Now, the richer body language one has proved absolutely fascinating when I've been talking to quite senior level people, directors, senior managers, and so forth. Because the research suggests that digital body language is somewhere where there's quite a generational divide. Younger people, digital natives, are quite likely to add visuals to their WhatsApp, to their Teams chat, to their Slack chat, whatever else it is. They might be images, they might be emoji, they might be GIFs, all of that kind of stuff. Younger people are likely to do that automatically. And if you look up, there's a book called Because Internet, which covers a lot of the research on this. Actually, how those images, GIFs, emoji are being used is to replace body language, whether that's the sort of involuntary gestures that you make when you're emphasizing a point, or the deliberate gesture of pointing, those kind of things. People are actually using emojis, GIFs, and visuals to do that stuff, which I find absolutely fascinating. So I would say, if you want to be more effective with your asynchronous communication, using those things is going to add a whole layer of stuff which has been taken away in our in text-based conversations. This is the stuff that people are saying is missing and means they want to go back to the office. So if you, like me, want the remote work to carry on, use this stuff. Other things you might want to try include using really simple, vivid language and stories, which will get stuff done quickly, and consider using audio or video. It's actually more likely that you're paying attention to me because I'm on video than if I just wrote a blog post about what I'm saying here. You're more likely to stay engaged. So using all those tools is going to make a big difference to the conversationalness of asynchronous communication. And I've got to tell you, I introduced this idea to a group of senior directors at a government department, a UK government department, just a couple of weeks ago. I explained what I've just explained to you in a little bit more detail because I'm rushing. But I waited for a moment for it to sink in. I said, any comments? And one of the guys said, you mean that we could use the Teams channel like a WhatsApp group? I said, that's the idea. People just don't know what they don't know. If they've never thought about it, they don't know that's possible. And you know, because you've been doing that for years. So let me continue with one other big idea about how you might make it more conversational, which is clarifying questions. Ask more questions. You've seen this diagram before. The blind men and the elephant, we've all got our own views of the elephant. And yet, by asking questions, we can find out a whole lot more about what each of us mean. Elise Keith, who's an expert in meetings, says that the reason to have meetings is to quickly create a shared perspective in a group. By using your asynchronous communications and asking questions, you can quickly create a shared perspective. So I'm going to do a really quick, here are my suggestions. If you want to help other people to build their asynchronous communication skills, set an example, give them permission, say, yes, it's okay to use it like a WhatsApp group. Offer encouragement. That might just mean liking what they do, or better still, commenting on what they do. And of course, you can offer training to your organization or your department. You can hire me. I do that kind of thing. And before we go to questions, let me squeeze in one more piece. I'm really curious about what you have seen working in terms of asynchronous communication. And I'd like your stories, your tips, your hints, your ideas. Please email me or message me on Twitter. And I'm going to distill some knowledge into a short, persuasive piece that we can all use to hand around to directors and say, this is something that we can use. Let's do more of this. And if you contribute to it, I will share that piece with you directly, and you can use it. So I'm hoping that that will be high value for you. Final slide, contact details, judy@reesmccann.com, and on Twitter, I'm Judy Rees. I'm easy to find all over the internet. I'm absolutely passionate about this stuff, by the way. So do get in touch, drop me a message. And what questions do you have about what I've just said?
Well, I always bring questions, don't I, Judy? But I will share in the chat as well. Just probably my favorite thing written about, it's actually called The Future of Work, is written by Juan Pablo Boretica. He's just an engineer talking about the idea of asynchronous work, because obviously I'm a big fan of it. But yes and no, I want to say already I withdraw the big fan, even though I'm a big fan of it, because I think I was raised by, like, in my previous life as a salesperson, hit by the by sales. We've always worked that way. You write everything down about any client, anything essential, even like little tidbits, personal things, because then someone else can pick it up. So that's definitely how you should do that. And I love documentation, which is a huge developer thing, because it helps also create a history of why you made those decisions. But when you're doing something asynchronously and you're presenting an idea and you're allowing questions, I think it's sometimes harder to take negative feedback when it feels like someone's been simmering for a while, because asynchronous means not then. How do you deal with the more negative feedback, or, if it just, so it's not just pigeon management, just shitting all over someone's idea because they didn't check it all day, things like that. How do you get?
Absolutely. And that's one of the important things about this whole asynchronous piece, is that all the research suggests that when things get even tense, let alone heated, go to a richer medium, and ideally go to synchronous. Okay. So if you, for example, feel aggrieved by what somebody's written on your document, you could, for example, create a little Loom video and say, oh, I was, but most importantly in that Loom video, ask some questions about what they meant by what they said.
Mm-hmm. Because when you read,
one of the things is that what they said what you heard may not be what they intended to say.
And non-native English speakers or people speaking a different language say things in a different way, different tones, things like that, that maybe if you were doing, I think still one-to-one videos have a lot of value, right? Absolutely.
Loom videos, I think they annoy me when I'm in a hurry, because I think, why didn't he just write it down?
This is the WhatsApp thing. Everyone loves to leave a voice message. They don't want to talk, but then they don't want to have to listen to it.
Yeah. So it's always going to be a balance. But these directors, for example, that I was talking to the other week, one of their things was they wanted to start the, I mean, they're a bit, maybe a bit late to the party, but they want to start the conversation about their new ways of working, their hybrid working process. And I said, well, have you considered, rather than trying to start the conversation with an email, start the conversation by putting yourself on camera?
Or, God forbid, poll your staff first what they actually want to do.
Well, this department was really, really on. We're going to have a proper conversation with the whole staff about what we're going to do, which was really interesting and rich. But the directors turned out, once we got them interested, to be really creative in how they use the tools. So, for example, one guy, rather than put himself on camera, created a little animation to start the conversation. It was really quite interesting how creative people could be once they were given permission to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we are taught be creative as kids, and then it's slowly taken and restricted away from us. So we need to sometimes find joy in coloring, drawing, whatever it may be. This was great. And just also like what you said, for negative communication or volatile communication, you may need to change the medium. Don't forget also for positive things like people's birthdays and all, or you just an atta girl, an atta guy, like, good job. It's really good to find different medium to do that, and not just on the negative side, but the positive side too. Thank you so much, Judy. That was great. I'm sure people are going to be rocking up your Twitter with questions and their specific concerns, because we've all been there. It's not easy. It's great. It's inclusive. Flexible work is great. But asynchronous communication is not easy. So thank you so much, Judy.
Thank you.
Thank you all for listening, joining us live. Don't forget to take advantage of the ample opportunities to network. You can also visit Kim and Jan David, sorry if I'm messing up your name, in the HPE booth to learn about how GreenLake can take you from the edge to cloud and back again. I'll catch you in a few minutes in track 1. We're in track 2 now. Go to track 1 so you can hear the Cheryl Hung talking all about the ups and downs of one of the biggest, if not, I think it's probably the biggest open source community, the Cloud Native Computing Foundation. And then come back here to track 2 after that for Container Solutions' own occupational psychologist, Helen Bartemote. Thank you so much. See you soon.